Good evening, everyone. Hi, I'm Shri Sundram, Dean for the K. Tiedemann School of Business and Finance, and also the campus dean here for the Movement College of Business at the USF St. Petersburg campus. It is absolutely my pleasure to welcome all of you this evening for a wonderful program that we have scheduled for you. Before I talk about the program, I want to just take a moment to talk about the strong initiative and the commitment we have made as a university, as a college, and as a campus to this important cause about race and gender equity. Last year, the University of South Florida made a very strong commitment through its Blackness and Anti-Racism Grants Initiative, which focused on fostering a better understanding about anti-racism, and also for devising concrete strategies that can help us to deal with this persistent issue that we have. This year, the Movement College of Business is offering a free certificate in diversity, inclusion, and equity in the workplace, along with its partners, Jabil and Lightning. It's free, offered to the community. We have over 90,000 subscribers already registered here for this particular program. And here in the St. Petersburg campus, we have made a commitment through our Women in Leadership Initiative, which is part of the Bishop Center for Ethical Leadership. We really wanted to make sure we're facilitating this conversation towards gender and race equity. We're using our I'm Speaking series as an important vehicle to have this conversation. Today, we have the second part of the series, Conversations That Inspire. We have four wonderful speakers that are going to talk to you about what they have done to make our community and our society more equitable. So without any further delay, I want to allow my team to introduce you to all the speakers, but I want to take a moment to first thank all of our community partners and all the team members that have really made this possible. Again, thank you for joining us this evening. I'm looking forward to listening and learning from all of our speakers. This is going to be a great conversation. I appreciate you just taking the time to spend the evening with us. Thank you very much.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you, Dean, for the welcome as well as all the support you've given us at the Women in Leadership Initiative. I'm Rebecca Harris, one of the co-leaders of the Women in Leadership Initiative, WALI, and I want to thank everyone for coming to join us this evening. I want to just take a moment to remind you of the whole arc of the Spring's event series. Last month, we heard very moving stories from 3 women of color in the Tampa Bay area about the challenges and opportunities they've experienced in the workforce. And it's through these personal truths that we can learn empathy and begin to make change for all in our workplace and in the classroom. This evening, we're privileged to now learn about the bridges we can build to try to affect change at an even higher level. You'll hear from 3 more powerful women making a difference through partnerships they've developed. You'll have an opportunity to then share your own thoughts about the supports and structures that you see around you or that you wish you had around you. In next month's event on April 7th, we'll continue in this vein of finding ways to support one another with a highly interactive session on how to be an upstander, not a bystander, in the workplace or the classroom. We'll give you more information on that event at the end of this evening together. I'll just take an extra moment to talk about the technology and format for this evening. As usual, we thank you for your patience for any technological glitches that may arise. In addition, we are recording this event, so if you want to check in with us later, we can get you access to that recording. We'll hear from our MC in a moment, and then we'll enjoy the conversation among our panelists. We ask that you turn off your cameras and mute yourselves for this period. After that, around 5:40, we'll be placed into small breakout rooms for 10 minutes of group reflection. If you're not logged into Teams with a USF ID, we'll post instructions in the chat for how to get you into a breakout room. We'll then reconvene, share our thoughts, ask questions of our panelists, and wrap up by 6:15. Our MC tonight is Skye Dahan, whom we are proud to say is a USF alumna. She's one of the co-creators that worked with our WALI team to bring about this whole series. Skye is the CEO and founder of Afro Curators, which is a digital media and entertainment brand that connects first-gen Africans who desire to break cultural expectations and thrive. Skye is the face behind Curated by Skye Creative, where she supports entrepreneurs in building inclusive and sustainable communities. Previously, Skye worked for the global giant WeWork. As you can hear, with all that talent and experience, she is the perfect host for this evening, and it's my pleasure to welcome Skye Dahan to our virtual podium. Welcome, Skye.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the intro. It has been a pleasure co-creating with this amazing team, and I'm really excited for part 2 of this amazing series. And with that, I have 3 amazing women that I'm going to introduce and that you're going to hear from throughout the rest of this event. So the first person that I'm going to go ahead and introduce is Renee Baker. Renee Baker is the head of PCG Advisor Inclusion Networks at Raymond James, providing corporate support and leadership for the Black, Pride, and Women's Financial Advisors Networks. In her role, she focuses on recruitment, retention, and the advancement of diverse financial advisors. She works closely with Raymond James PCG Education and Practice Management to provide tools and resources to help advisors grow their business. Renee also works closely with the firm's head of diversity and inclusion to increase awareness and efforts around equity work within the company. With ties to USF, Renee is an active member of the community. She's a trustee for American Stage and previously served as the adjunct professor where she taught advertising management. Renee has won several industry awards and was named one of 20 people who will change wealth management in 2020. We are so happy to have you here with us today, Renee. Thank you for joining us. Next, we have Hilary Van Dyke. Hilary has with over a decade of experience as an educator. Ensuring the future of lives for Black youth is a complete passion of Hilary's. While pursuing her master's degree in educational leadership from the University of South Florida, St. Petersburg, she became especially interested in achieving educational equity. So since then, she's worked as a diversity, equity, and inclusion practitioner, training people from a variety of sectors on bias and racism. She is also the co-founder of The Green Book of Tampa Bay, host of podcast pedagogy, and volunteer leader for Outdoor Afro, and is pursuing a doctorate in social sciences, curriculum, and instruction at the University of South Florida. We are so happy to have you here, and I am really excited to hear more from you later in this event. Our last speaker is Gypsy Giardo, and Gypsy is the CEO of Urban Market Analytics, a Florida-based firm that specializes in designing, funding, and evaluating place-based solutions that move the needle of economic progress for low-income people and communities, including redevelopment strategies, community economic growth plans, and initiatives that accelerate poverty reduction. Gypsy has over 27 years of experience working with award-winning organizations in fields that are vital to transforming communities and our economies, including commercial development, workplace development, economic development, and micro and small business development. Gypsy's former career roles have included being Vice President of Development for Urban Development Solutions, which was about 9 years, Vice President for International Enterprise Development, and locally, Gypsy is the CEO of the 2020 Plan, a collective impact initiative of 100 organizations committed to reducing poverty rate by 30% in South St. Petersburg by 2020. And I'm really excited because she's also the CEO of Power Broker Media, a publishing group, and really focuses on targeting African Americans in Florida and the Tampa Bay region. She is a recipient of 24 awards that focus on leadership and service, and is a mother of 4 amazing children, including 2 nephews that she helped raise. We are so excited to have you here, Gypsy and Renee, and like just thinking of things that Hilary, what you're going to share today. I'm just so excited for you ladies to interview each other, and what we're going to hear is obviously to inspire us. So for those that are here, there's, oh my God, like 200 of us in here. I would love for you to put in the chat, hopefully this does not blow up the chat, I want you to type yes if you're ready to hear from these ladies, if you're ready to be inspired, if you're ready to be moved, because they're going to introduce and interview one another, which is going to be a different format. But I think it's going to be so amazing to hear these stories from these women who have obviously moved the needle here in Tampa Bay and have obviously made an incredible impact. So without further ado, I am going to welcome Gypsy, who will be interviewing Renee. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, so in advance, my apologies. I'm working in the Caribbean for a few weeks and reception may be spotty. Renee, can you give me an indication of how clear I'm coming across?
You sound wonderful. I'll have your back. If anything changes, I'll let you know.
Okay, so and do a hand signal, do an air quote signal if this breaks up, and then people can move forward with the program as needed. But first, Renee, let's give the audience a sense of who you are. Give us a bit about your background, and if you can, give us something unique that most people don't know about you.
Okay, so thank you so much for taking the opportunity to interview me, Gypsy. Thank you to everyone at USF for the opportunity to be here today. So I won't go too far back because I know we want to keep this short, but I grew up in Southern New Jersey. I moved to Florida 4 years ago. I moved to a small town in New Jersey and pretty much can you hear me okay? I hear a little bit of feedback. But you can hear me okay? Um, so I basically grew up in the small town in New Jersey and really aspired growing up to be an astronaut. And then the Challenger disaster happened and I changed it and decided I was going to be a astronaut and then a doctor before going onto this career field of financial services. So for the last 27 years, I've been in financial services. I am a wife. I am a mom of 3 adult children. So yay to being an empty nester. And I'm happy to be here in St. Petersburg, Florida, working at Raymond James, leading our advisor inclusion networks, and really just diving into the community, into the work, and really enjoying my experience here. Now, you asked me to say something that most people do not know. And I'm trying to think of something good. So I'll share this. My very first job, I was an extra in the movie Lean On Me. So if some of you are younger, you might not know about Lean On Me, but it's about a high school in New Jersey. And the principal's name is Joe Clark. He actually just passed away last December. And it's about how Joe Clark turned the high school around. The funny thing about that moment is that was my first job. I was so excited. I had a speaking part. And what I didn't know at the time was that things would get cut on the floor. So I was in that movie and there's someone said they see that movie and there's a part in the movie where they say, "Free Joe Clark, free Joe Clark." And anyone who knows that movie knows that's the courtyard scene, the courthouse scene. And I had a part in it and I said, "It's not fair." That was my part. That was my line. I nailed it. It's not fair. We go to the movie premiere to see it. And guess what? They cut it. So that was, they cut that section, but I was
okay.
But guess what? That was
right.
Lessons in resilience.
Okay, so not fair, by the way. So not fair. But next, give us a sense for the inclusion networks that you oversee at Raymond James.
Yeah, so I oversee the 3 advisor inclusion networks at Raymond James. Now, keep in mind, diversity and inclusion and our commitment to diversity definitely shows up not just in our advisor networks, but also in our associate networks. We have 5 associate networks and 3 advisor networks. So the 3 advisor networks that I represent are the Women Financial Advisors Network, and we're so proud of this network. It's been around for 27 years. So when I joined in my profession, when I joined the industry, This network was starting in 1994. So it's a group of very successful women financial advisors. And it's all about how we can support one another and support the advisors to grow their businesses. We also have Black financial advisors. And that network, we started about 7 years ago. We just celebrated our 7th annual Black Financial Advisors Network Symposium, which was in a virtual event, bringing in Black financial advisors and our colleagues from all around the globe in support of the efforts around helping to bring together the best and brightest Black financial advisors in the industry. And last June of 2020, we launched the Pride Financial Advisors Network. And that's a collaboration of LGBT plus advisors and allies committed to openly and honestly supporting all of the different aspects of the community and developing themselves professionally, all together focused on putting our clients first. Within these 3 networks, my team and I are focused on how do we increase representation of diverse financial advisors in the industry, and how do we support the financial advisors at our organization and make sure that they feel welcome and included and we can help grow their business. And we're all about advancing these different initiatives. We're doing so much amazing work at Raymond James. So we want to make sure it's visible and that's seen, whether it's for our advisors or for our. I can't hear you.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so just to respect our time limit, I know we've got 10 minutes for this. Give us, rate it on a scale of 1 to 10. So take us beyond the great representation of the 3 advisory groups that you work with at Raymond James, and give us a simple, on a scale of 1 to 10, how well is it working?
Well, listen, I'm biased, Gypsy. Let me just be clear. I'm very biased. And I will say,
give us the unbiased opinion so that people can learn what it takes to actually be in this space.
Well, here's what I'll say. I'll answer you, but I'll say this. Where this is a journey, it's progress before perfection. Hopefully, I'll work myself out of a job. But today, this is about progress. Where we were 4 years ago when I joined the organization, I'll say back then, we were probably about a 3 or 4, right? Today, I'd say we're about an 8 or 9. We have made tremendous, tremendous progress. It's very visible. And when we get to 10, that means that we don't need to have these advisor inclusion networks or these associate networks, because we've met our goal of creating this organization that is across the world, right? That we are focused on having inclusive environment. We have so it's definitely progress before perfection, but we get better every single day. And that's what I'm proud of. And that's what I work towards every day.
Okay, great answer, by the way. Great answer. Okay, how much of this is personality driven? The passion for the individual who runs a diversity, equity, inclusion initiative to do a great job, to operate out of a sense of imperative for equity and inclusion, et cetera. And how much of it is that, and how much of it is easy to replicate by other corporations?
Well, I'll say that, coming into this role and not being a D&I practitioner, but having this as a lived experience, I've always been passionate about it. Coming into Wall Street as a Black woman, back before these networks existed as much as they do today. So I think you do have to be passionate. I think the culture has to be prepared and ready for it. And within the organization, having individuals that are ready to support is very important. Now, I can say at organizations, they have these different type of groups and these different initiatives. But what they don't have is the sauce. Every organization has a different culture. Every organization has a different way. And you have to sauce to be able to support it. So I think that while it's about the passionate person who's doing the work, it's also the people that are committed to the work. And at Raymond James, this initiative flows through our organization. It doesn't just live with me. It doesn't just live with my colleague, Pedro Suriel, who leads diversity and inclusion. It's out
Okay, and last question, Renee, and let's try to name this one in 60 seconds. Let's get personal with it. Yeah, let's get personal and help the audience connect to how have inclusion networks and inclusion initiatives impacted your own career path?
I'll say I didn't have these networks. These networks weren't around when I started. And unfortunately, I wasn't at Raymond James in 1994 when this women's network started. So I didn't have them. What I did have was mentors, and what I did have were sponsors. And although I didn't have these opportunities, I'm grateful for the generation that does have them. I'm grateful that my daughters are at organizations, and this is a conversation. These conversations weren't taking place years ago. So everyone that has these organizations, what a great opportunity. So I say people don't start careers to feel welcome. They start careers to fulfill their aspirations, and having support for those aspirations is an imperative that I work towards every single day because I didn't have them.
Okay, awesome. Namaste. Great interview. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gypsy.
That was amazing. Thank you so much. I took some notes. So we're going to maybe come back to mentors versus sponsors because I feel like people always have questions around that. And I really want to dig into what you mean about what the sauce that your company has. And I think people might want to know a little bit about what the sauce actually is and how can they transfer it to their own company. So thank you, ladies. That was an amazing interview. We are now going to transition from Renee now interviewing Hilary.
Thank you.
You're so welcome.
Hi, Hilary. Now you're on the hot seat. This is not the hot seat. This is the collaboration seat. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Great. So let's just dive into it. So Hilary, let's learn a little bit about you. Tell us about your background and all the amazing things that make you, you.
Well, I think that in the intro, Skye covered a lot of it. But some of the things I do want to add is that I am the daughter of a Haitian immigrant. So I'm first generation American, which is really important to what makes me me. My mom also remarried when I was, I think I was 10 years old to a 6'10" white man. And so he legally adopted me a year or two later. And so just even the Rainbow Coalition that is my family has been really, really formative in the way that I navigate equity spaces. And then just moving from South Florida to Indiana, then going to school at Purdue and living in around that area of rural Indiana, and then coming back to Florida and being in St. Pete, just all these different things have really impacted my ability to kind of navigate different humans.
Well, thanks for sharing that. You're getting a lot of love as first generation Haitian, and
okay. Oh, I see my
Rainbow.
My actual cousins in here too somewhere.
Yeah, so. People are feeling that. So we want to call that out. So I just recently found out about Green Book Tampa, which is amazing. Can you tell us a little bit about Green Book Tampa Bay and what it is and the impact that it's had on the community?
Yes. First of all, there's so many Haitians over here in the chat.
Yes, all the love. You're getting all the love.
Bonjour, cousins. All right. So, yeah, the Green Book of Tampa Bay is a Black-owned business directory. That's the primary function that we have. So if you go to greenbooktampabay.org, any sort of business you're looking for, restaurant, yoga, if you need pavers, if you need your lawn mowed, if you need insurance agent, literally anything, you can find that business in the Green Book. And then if you are a business owner, it's pretty easy to add yourself as well. There's over 670 businesses listed between Pinellas and Hillsborough. And when we started it, it was like this little WordPress blog style format. And last spring, so almost a year ago now, Gypsy and One Community approached us. So as part of their plan, they wanted a Black-owned business directory. And they found out that the Green Book existed and helped us bring our site to, basically leveled up our site so that it looked more like and acted more like Yelp does. So it went from being kind of like a basic WordPress blog to more of a directory style. And then what was interesting with all of that is that help came at exactly the right moment, because literally as we were beta testing, George Floyd was killed and people were just looking for how they could help. And one of the biggest things that people realize is just being intentional with their money and spending money at Black-owned businesses was a very simple way to build a new habit. And they just started using the site, started following us on Instagram at Green Book TV. And kind of depending on what's happening in the news cycle impacts how many people are using the directory, but regularly there's at least like, 1,500 to like 10,000 people a month going to the site. So all we want is people to use the directory and go spend their money with Black folks in Tampa Bay. And with that intentionality, we're like rising. Well, actually, I'm not going to get into that because Gypsy, I think that'll get out there with Gypsy's question. So I'm not going to get into that. But that's what Josh and I believe in, is we can't keep waiting for other people to save the community. Like, the people have to be the ones saving the community. So that's, oh, and then the other thing is, sorry, last thing. So the directory is the main thing. And then the other thing, we do some work to try to help the business owners be, better versions of themselves in any way we can. So we just finished a website grant where we helped 52 business owners get a new website that hadn't had one before, which was exciting. And so that work is over for a while, which is nice because we get some breathing room because that was a lot of work. And then we feature people on Instagram when Josh and I try them out, and we have a couple ambassadors who, when they try people out, they will send us their write-up and we post that as well. So it's the directory, the featuring, and then any other sort of work that we can do to help businesses.
Oh, so impressive, Hilary. So much great work. And the fact that you're reaching so many people is absolutely amazing. Do you know about any other ventures that's doing anything like this in the community?
So within our community, there's definitely a lot of good work happening to support Black-owned businesses. Obviously, we'll hear from Gypsy and everything that One Community is doing. Mm-hmm. There's the Deuces in St. Pete and the work that they're doing to revitalize and not even revitalize, but really just continue to support the business owners in that area. You can think about almost like the Black chambers. If you think about the St. Pete Business League, the Tampa Bay or Tampa Black Chamber. In Orlando, there's a guy called Build Black Daily, who every day for like a year was supporting a different Black-owned business. And even just through his social media, he almost has like a Black-owned business directory if you like are willing to flip back through it. And then in other communities, we are talking to a group in North Carolina that wants to basically start a Green Book North Carolina and helping them through what that looks like. Because at first we were like, we're going to do this for the whole country. And then we were like, we don't have that time. We ain't got time for that. So instead of that, we're kind of, if someone approaches us and wants to do that for their area, then we just talk them through what that looks like. Yeah, it is Charlotte.
Yeah, so that's what I was gonna say. Someone said, hey, bring that to Charlotte. So yeah. There it is. Look, actionable. Look at you, just happening. What inspired Green Book? You're doing so much, so many amazing things. What inspired this?
That's a good question. The main thing is, so my business partner and I used to work together at Azalea Middle School, home of the Black Knights, and a lot of our students just some of our former students have ended up in trouble that could have been mitigated had they had like some of the opportunities that other kids get outside of that neighborhood. And so we just are all the time, we're trying to figure out what can we do to be a part of something that'll help make these opportunities exist for the students. Mm-hmm. And we participated in all sorts of things. Nothing was really like I don't know how to say this word out loud. I always say it wrong. Niche, whatever. We couldn't find our niche.
Yeah.
It's one that I like read, but I don't know how to say. Anyway,
Like French.
it's French and it's niche. Anyway, so we just really weren't finding the thing that felt right. And then after this episode of Trigger Warning by Killer Mike, the very first one where he's trying to live while Black for a few days, not being successful, mainly because he just couldn't find, these businesses. And he was talking about like there should be a green book of wherever he was. And so it was like we already had this idea of economic vitality in mind and how do we build that. And we were thinking about jobs for kids and all this program that like Houston does. And then it just kind of formed from that. And then even just the way the world works and the universe works, that it brought us together with Gypsy and one community eventually, and with the Deuces, like all of these different initiatives kind of coming together. So I think we finally found what we were supposed to be doing. And so Green Book started in March 2019, but really started to grow on June 2nd, 2020, after we were featured on some news channel. I can't remember which one anymore. And then in the chat, someone asked where the name Green Book is from. Historically, the Negro Motorist Travel Guide was made by Victor Hugo Green. And it was a guide to help Black folks navigate their country so they could legally and safely make it through the country. I told them where they could stop, where they could eat, where they could get gas. I recently found out it also told them where they could rent campgrounds, what national parks they could go to. And that's only important to me because of the outdoor Afro stuff. Anyway, so it's taking and borrowing from that history, but having a not more positive, but a different spin to it because we're encouraging everyone to go to the businesses.
Well, I know we're up against time, but let's give a shout out to Josh, your partner and co-creator. Just really briefly, like 30 seconds of a shout out since he couldn't be here today.
Yeah, so Josh, I'm gonna say, I think a better word is co-conspirator. Josh is white. And I think that if you think about an example of like when white folks are wanting to know, like, what do I do? How do I get involved? He's just an example of someone that's willing to put his own safety and comfort on the line to fight for Black lives. And so that makes him a good partner.
We need those type of advocates and allies. So
yeah.
Shout out to, and great, thank you for all of your wonderful work that both you and Josh do. I know my time is up, so I'll turn it back over to Skye. Thank you.
I just want to shout out that me and you, Hilary, are matching, and I'm really loving the blazer. I'm loving the color selection.
You introing me, I was saying, put that in the bio that we're matching.
Love it. No, really, I think, Renee hit it on the head of just, it's so important for people who don't look like us, right, as speakers, to really put action behind the desire to help. I don't think that is the role for everyone. I think sometimes the role may be to be a sponsor or to advocate or to open a door when maybe it's not as easily open because there's some obstacle in the way. But I love the fact that for Green Book Tampa Bay and the mission of it, you have a white co-conspirator, as you're saying. And I think that's a really great example of what it means to really put action behind the desire to create change. So that's awesome. I also wanted to give a shout out because I saw there's some people from North Carolina. So if you're from, wherever you're from, I would love for you to just drop your location because I'm interested to see where everyone is tuning in from right now. So if you're wherever you are, drop it in the chat as we go ahead and introduce the next conversation. So again, that was really awesome. I'm really excited now to hear Hilary interview Gypsy and to hear about Gypsy's experience. And Gypsy, remind us where you are right now because I'm a little jealous. I feel like you said you were somewhere.
I'm in Jamaica, which is my second family home.
Okay, all right. So Haitian, and you are in Jamaica with your family. So, and I see people are from Florida, DC, I see Bali,
Yeah.
Asia. So this is an international event at this point. And between you being in Jamaica and people being in Bali, I love seeing that. So without further ado, I'll let you two continue the conversation and share your wisdom with the group to inspire us.
All right, I see there's a Haitian in Bali. All right, before I get started, I'm dropping one link in the chat for you all, an event you might have interest in related to the Green Book history. All right, so Gypsy, as you know, I'm very excited about this because I always am fangirling about you. So can you give us your 60-second intro about your background and who you are?
Okay, and I'm gonna drop a lot of city names in here so I can get some shout outs in the chat. And if I get to be too spotty, I'm gonna turn off video per Lisa's recommendation. Okay, so try to do give me a signal if you can. I am second eldest of 14 siblings and was raised by 13 different parents in 6 different states. So Norwalk, Connecticut, New Haven, Connecticut, Palm Beach County, Florida, St. Petersburg, Columbus, Ohio, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and Frankfort, Kentucky. So I need to see lots of, and I see a Bahamian here. And so my father's family is from the Bahamas. My mother's family is Chilean. A lot of people, because of my last name, think I'm Latino or approach me as such. But I grew up steeped knee deep in the African American community and self-identify as Black. Mother of 4, by the way. Okay, next question.
Okay, that was amazing. I love all of that. All right, so can you describe for us the One Community Plan and its impact on Black people in St. Petersburg?
Just to make it really plain and simple, we focus really with a laser-like focus on the wealth and income of African Americans. So a lot of, and we got a lot of positive credit for that fact way back when we were the 2020 plan, which has succeeded in or helped to, I should say, reduce African American poverty to its lowest rate ever in the city of St. Petersburg. Just a tremendous effort of lots of different organizations, St. Pete College, P-Tech, Pinellas Opportunity Council, Urban League, et cetera. Just tons of organizations pitching in to move the poverty needle. So we get a lot of credit for that. We now have switched our focus to not necessarily exclusively poverty reduction, but to economic growth. So we do a Herculean effort at pouring into our entrepreneurial community. When we met you, Hilary, that's why it was so perfect. Our dream was always to, because as quiet as it's kept, there are over 4,000 independently operating African-American entrepreneurs in St. Petersburg, but nobody would know it. You would never, ever know that fact. And when we encountered you and discovered that you were doing what we had dreamed of doing, which is creating an online repository, you can go there 24/7 to look up Black-owned businesses in various categories, increase utilization of those, increase partnerships among those, et cetera. That's the kind of stuff that wakes me up every day as CEO of 2020. And I'll give my tagline before we go to the next question. We are all about growing the paychecks, bank accounts, and balance sheets of Black people in St. Petersburg.
I like it. I love that tagline. All right. So thinking about that very specific, intense work, do you have any advice for other people who are wanting to recreate this work or some version of this work in their area or another city?
Advice is don't do it the way I did it. And the only reason I say that is because I went at it as a pure breed collective impact initiative, if you know that term. Like pure breed, using the best and brightest and everything that anyone had to offer, bringing that together, helping that to blend into a whole to make a major impact. But asking people to deny their base self, to deny the fact that we are always first and foremost about our own interest, which, by the way, I ultimately learned from my grandchild. Right, watching that babyhood and the mind and the my grandma and the, all of that self instinct is what helped me to understand that I've spent most of my career working against a grain of natural self-interestedness. And if anybody chooses to do that, I would say be prepared for a lot of selflessness, for a lot of suppressing of your own instincts inside of these partnership frameworks, really stepping back, letting other leaders emerge. If you've noticed, Hilary, in the way that we've worked with you in our relationship, we don't need a bunch of credit. We need we need enough shout outs to say, hey, we're doing good work. But it's really all about lifting up your work and lifting up the work of others. And that's really the secret to our success.
Right. We still keep giving the credit anyways, though. But yeah, you're right. Like, you really don't like ask for the credit ever, even though we're always like, what community is amazing. So it may seem like an obvious question, but can you give us a concrete example of how promoting equity for Black people in St. Pete helps the entire city and region?
Yeah, when we first started out, we went straight to the mainstream, i.e. majority white economic development community. And we said, hey, you are losing a ton of money on poverty related costs. Taxpayers are spending on incarceration, arrest rates, public assistance, child support enforcement, litter cleanup programs, you name it. We as taxpayers are funding it. We're funding the negative fallout of the disproportionate rate of poverty among African Americans. And so I said, hey, this is the naive, younger Gypsy, right? Hey, economic development leaders, let's turn this around. Let's begin to invest in those things that move people out of poverty so that we can shrink this huge price tag to taxpayers. And that's the case that we made. And I will say this, it won enough support that enough people invested. Shout outs to Pinellas Opportunity Council, Pinellas County Urban League, BBIC, lots of other organizations heard that call. They saw the passion and okay, well, dang, Gypsy's so passionate about it. Let's give it a try was the reaction that we got from a lot of people. And lo and behold, years later, the combined effort has moved the poverty needle and set records in terms of Black employment, Black earnings growth, et cetera, in St. Petersburg.
Yes. All right. So the last question is, was there sorry, y'all, I'm like having a total, as you can see from my smile, this is amazing. Was there a defining or pivotal moment that led you to this work?
I think that journey that I started with, that 13 different parents, I moved 30 times before I was 18 years old. So I got to see an incredible diaspora of Black life in the United States. I got to see the poor, the working class, the middle income, the Black elite, the Black intelligentsia. I worked in City Hall in Philadelphia when my aunt was deputy mayor of the city under the first Black mayor. So I got to see all of this experience. My aunt was an administrative assistant to W.E.B. Du Bois. And, just all of these pieces that came together, and it gave me an understanding that the ingredients that go into a child's formation, the vision that they're given, what they're told they can expect to achieve, the opportunities and the doorways given to them to walk through had absolutely everything to do with the outcomes in their adult life. And so it became part of my passion to create large-scale plans to give people those opportunities in entrepreneurship. I'm very glad to see on the phone tonight Taisha Scantling, one of my sheroes, just an awesome person who has helped so many entrepreneurs to just grow and thrive, and just so many organizations pitching in to reach out a hand, invite people in, and so many African Americans are hungry for those opportunities that combination has worked to move the poverty needle in our city.
Right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Wow. I feel all warm and fuzzy inside. I just feel like I've learned so much, and you ladies are phenomenal. For those who are listening, I just want you to drop one word to describe how you're feeling hearing these amazing stories. So whatever that one word, I'm going to use the word inspired, because why not? Because enlightened, inspired, proud, optimistic, like you ladies are literally changing the landscape of what Tampa and St. Pete are going to look like for the future. You're building the legacy, right? You're building a legacy. A lot of, some of you mentioned that when you started, you didn't have these examples. And so you turn your experience into something that's going to impact generations and legacies to come. People are saying transformative, optimistic, proud, like you are clearly moving the audience, and we are all at home and people are probably in PJs, still inspired. But no, this has been amazing. And, we really want to get you all in the audience really involved in this next phase of the conversation, and continue talking about how we can get involved locally, and how we can get involved in our communities and giving back. And so what we're going to do next is we're actually going to transition into small breakout rooms. And within these small breakout rooms, we're unfortunately not going to have the time to introduce each other. So if you can take a quick moment when you get in these groups to drop your name, where you're from, maybe your LinkedIn account, so you can stay connected. But in these groups, we are going to create a safe space, and a space that is going to allow for everyone to feel seen, heard, and valued. If you have questions, ask it. But the question that we're going to have in this group is, and we'll put it in the chat so you don't have to memorize it, but it's, what kind of partnerships or structures are you involved in, or that you want to support, that promotes diversity and inclusion? So maybe you're already involved in something that promotes diversity and inclusion, or maybe you're not. This is an opportunity to hear from your peers, or to share some of the things you're doing so it inspires someone else to take action. So we're going to break off into these rooms. It's going to happen automatically. And so hopefully you're going to see and meet some new people. But with that being said, we're going to go ahead and transition. Thank you, ladies. This has been amazing. And after that, we'll come back together really quick, and then we'll close out the event.
Thank you, Skye.
You're so welcome. All right, we know folks are coming back. So once we get to higher threshold. All right, so as we're waiting for the rest of the folks to get back, drop one thing that you learned from your group, or one commitment, or one thing you're gonna do moving past this event. All right, what's one thing you're gonna do past this event today? All right, so I think we've got a good amount of people back. So I just wanted to say this has been an honor. leading with you all. I love to connect, leading with you all, chatting with you all. I am now going to pass it over to my amazing co-creator, Dr. Madden, who has been killing it in St. Pete around diversity, equity, and inclusion. I really feel like you're going to end this on a bang here because people in the chat are going crazy about the things that they're going to do. Hilary, you are going to be busy because everyone said that they're running to Green Book in your event. They're looking to connect and work with corporate clients. So this has been amazing. Thank you for allowing me to be your host. And Dr. Madden, I am so excited for you to close us out.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much, Skye. And I don't feel any pressure at all.
No pressure.
But all of the glory goes to all of you ladies. Thank you so much to our amazing host, Skye Dahan. Thank you so much for taking us through the night and just leading the way for us. And to all of our amazing guests, Gypsy Giardo, Hilary Van Dyke, and Renee Baker, thank you so much for lending your time and attention to us. And I'm sure everyone has gotten several nuggets that they're going to walk away with. And to our facilitators of our breakout rooms, to everyone who has participated and everyone who has shown up, thank you so much for making this evening's event just the success that it has been. I came away with a few personal takeaways from the evening, and I just want to share those with you really quickly. Renee told us about a story in resilience. You know, I would be crushed if my one speaking role in a movie got left on the cutting room floor, but that taught her resilience. And that's one thing I'm going to walk away with. And progress before perfection. Do not get discouraged if what you're doing is not to the level of perfection. It will get there, but just keep on going. So remember that progress before perfection. Hilary told us we can't wait for other people to save us. The people have to save us. The people have to save the people. So think about that. Where are you? What is going on? Who is going to save you? You're going to save you. And you might have to tap someone else to be your partner in that, but you have the tools to save yourself. And if you don't have those tools, you can get those tools. Thank you so much for that, Hilary. And Gypsy, oh my goodness. So many nuggets there. But one of the things that really stuck with me was lift up the work of others. That's the key to success. How many times do we hear, oh, me, I have to get this, and it's all about me, and I'm going to hoard and do all of that. But that's not the way to success. And Gypsy is showing us the way. Thank you so much for that, Gypsy. So I want us to think about what's one takeaway that you can walk with? What is something that you can begin to implement, or what are some connections that you need to make? Who can you support? Each one of our ladies tonight have talked about supporting someone. Who can you be a role model to? Who's looking at you? Is it a sister, a daughter, a friend, people in the community? Who can you be that example for? And I want to encourage each of you to just take a second and think about it. What's something that you can begin to implement? Okay, and I'm not going to make you put in the chat. Just think about that and think about how you can begin to implement something in your life. There were a lot of contact information, LinkedIn and other handles that have been shared. Make sure you go back to the chat and collect some of that information. A lot of the ladies in the breakout room that I was in, they are longing for connection and network, and they want to be within that. So make sure you can support someone and someone can support you as well. Now, I want to just give you some information about our next event in this conversation in our I'm Speaking series, and it's the Conversations That Teach. And it's going to be a workshop to practice workplace responses to patterns that we want to disrupt in the workplace. And we want to implement new ways of business. So that is going to take place Wednesday, April 7th from 5 o'clock to 6:15 p.m. And once you RSVP for the event, the link will be sent to you. There is a link in the chat, so you can go ahead and RSVP. So make sure you do not miss the last installation of this amazing series. And I really would like to thank the leaders of this event, the College of Business, the Bishop Center, Becca and Rebecca, for their leadership on this, and my amazing co-creators. Thank you so much for making this space available. Recordings of conversations that inspire will be emailed to everyone who RSVP'd tonight. And with that, I would just like to say again, thank you so much for spending part of your evening with us. And please make sure to reach out and connect to someone, reach out and connect with us. And we want to hear about the success, and we want to be that support for you. So please make sure you get that information. And again, thank you so much for joining us tonight. And everyone, have a great evening.